I remember that it started about 2:30 in the morning when I was called and told that, in fact, the rumors that we heard were now being reported. Why is Kenneth Starr appointed to investigate an obscure Arkansas land deal, now looking into the president's alleged sexual affair with a White House intern?
The first thing, we asked was, does anybody know who Monica Lewinsky is?
Hey, pal, get your arms off her.
Like so many people, you reacted with incredulity on a very personal level. My gosh, a 24-year-old intern? What was the man possibly thinking? And then you started to think about the political consequences.
I want to say one thing to the American people.
I'll never forget that moment when he uttered those words. It was CNN's turn that day to be the network pool representative, and I was the senior White House correspondent.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky.
When he was shaking his hand and uttering those carefully scripted words, he knew I was the TV pool representative, and he was looking right at me, right at my eyes.
And I need to go back to work for the American people. Thank you.
Monica Lewinsky was the first real-time scandal of epic proportion. Every tidbit and rumor and piece of speculation.
There is a late-breaking development. Let's go to Bob Franken again on Capitol Hill. Bob?
Bernie, we've just gotten word from sources that my typical day on that story was I would literally get up at 3 in the morning every day virtually so I could be in at 6.
Hey, Bob.
Yeah, I just want to make sure you know that both Starr and Ginsburg have left and would work till 10, 11, 12 o'clock every night.
2 minutes.
Stand by.
That's how it was for 13 months.
You couldn't escape it in Washington. If you drove past the Watergate Hotel, there were the cameras staking out the place where Monica Lewinsky was living.
You have to be here every day, and they give you a day off.
If you drove past Judge Starr's house, there were the cameras staking out. If you drove past the White House, there was the gaggle of reporters standing out on the lawn.
Although sources telling CNN that top advisors to the president...
CNN has learned that Monica Lewinsky's testimony before the grand jury is expected tomorrow.
It was a hard story to cover. It took its toll on a lot of people. I think it strained a lot of marriages within the media because people were putting in so many hours.
Even if you're exhausted, you want to be there when it happens. You don't want to be at home when the key comes to what you've been wondering about.
Republicans hope the stellar reputation of 74-year-old Henry Hyde will...
You did it, first of all, because you knew it would end one day. And second of all, because that's why you're a reporter. You want to be there.
A defining moment for President Clinton. Ken Starr and a country awaiting the truth.
And sources say that he did, in fact, during his testimony, acknowledge an inappropriate physical relationship with the former White House intern.
The job of explaining all this to the American people falls to the president himself. A little less than 2 hours from now, the public's reaction in the days ahead could prove the true test of whether the president can survive politically.
Good evening. This afternoon in this room, from this chair, I testified before the Office of Independent Counsel.
Well, what was your reaction?
The president did what a lot of his advisors wanted him to do, apologize and give the bare minimum amount of detail about his relationship. It was a painful ordeal for all of us. But remember, there was a criminal investigation of the President of the United States by the independent counsel, Ken Starr.
It all comes down to this, a report of several hundred pages.
On Capitol Hill, nervous Democrats are pouring through the Starr report. Attorneys reviewing the Starr report for congressional Democrats tell CNN tonight they are impressed with its thoroughness and its detailed documentation.
Independent counsel's report to Congress has been made public.
Portions of that document are sexually explicit, and we caution you now.
We had to explain to people things that I never would have thought we would have put on television, ever. In the president's view, states this report, any person, reasonable person, would recognize that oral sex performed on the deponent falls outside the definition.
It was ridiculous. It was also unfit for children's ears. And so I had to start a stand-up on the White House lawn about this. and say, you know, if you have children in the room, you really need to take them out of the room. And I actually paused and waited a few seconds for people to get the kids out of the room.
On 10 to 15 occasions, and let's warn our viewers that some of this material is quite graphic and lurid, on 10
For 13 months, the country, the world was engrossed in this story. But this was a story that we had to pay attention to because the presidency was on the line.
A picture of the United States Capitol on this day, December 19th, 1998.
Impeachment is our only course of action.
May God have mercy on this Congress.
At 218, when that number comes up,
Here it is.
there it is. President William Jefferson Clinton is now the second president in the history of the United States to be impeached.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. All persons are commanded to keep silent on pain of imprisonment while the Senate of the United States is sitting for the trial of the articles of impeachment exhibited by the House of Representatives against William Jefferson Clinton.
You actually saw the light at the end of the tunnel with the Senate trial. You knew, okay, well, if it didn't end in January, it was going to end in February. And then they finally actually, you know, picked a day. And so you finally saw it winding down.
Mr. Levin, not guilty.
We witnessed almost day after day remarkable history that they will write about for a long time.
It is therefore ordered and adjudged that the said William Jefferson Clinton be and he hereby is acquitted of the charges in the said articles.
When the trial ended, that was a fixed point. Now, whatever you may think of whatever Bill Clinton had done, it's time to move on.
This can be, and this must be, a time of reconciliation and renewal for America.
It was a fascinating story. It was an awful lifestyle.
It was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? I have free time.
I think at the end, honestly, I was grateful I was there to cover it.